Hi, I'm Lynn Snierson. I've been a resident of the area for 21 years now, since I came to work at Rockingham Park as the Communications and Marketing Director. I came here from the big track in Chicago, Arlington Park, and Joe Carney and Eddie Callahan and the great people at Rockingham brought me here to work at the track, and I was in that capacity as the Communications Director for 15 years. Even though I was there for 15 years in the capacity of the track employee, track management, I started coming to Rockingham in 1987 when I started covering thoroughbred horse racing for the Boston Herald. And in fact, the very first racing story I ever wrote was at Rockingham. The paper sent me up from Boston to do a story on Donna Barton, who's now Donna Barton Brothers, whom if you watch racing on NBC TV or TVG, you'll see Donna as an expert commentator. She generally does her interviews. You see her interviewing the winners of the Triple Crown races and the Breeders' Cup races from horseback. She'll ride right up to the winning jockey and interview him as he's coming back from the finish line. Donna was an apprentice here at Rockingham Park. She began her career here, and I kind of began my writing career, although I'd been a sports writer for many, many years prior to that. But Donna and I kind of started together at Rockingham, and we're still friends, and I see her at all the big races. So I go back a little further. I go all the way back to 87, which is almost 30 years with Rockingham. And even after the horses went away at the end of the 2009 season, I still did some special projects for the track, helped them with some PR and some things, and stayed very close to the people at Rockingham, and stayed close to my former employees, the horsemen, my Rockingham family. And like everyone else, was extremely disheartened, disappointed, depressed, despondent, whatever D's you want to use, that we just couldn't get the casino legislation passed, and we couldn't get it done to keep the track alive. We're all very, very sad at the death, there's another D word for you, of Rockingham Park.
Jockeys and horses, there must be some that were outstanding in your mind.
Well, there were many, many who were here before I ever came on the scene. And although I just absolutely love horses. I mean, horses are my passion, thoroughbreds are my passion, thoroughbred racing is my passion. I'm still very much involved in the game now as a publicist for other racetracks and for the Breeders' Cup and other people. And I still write a lot about 95% of my freelance writing business is about thoroughbred racing for the various and sundry trades in the country. So I'm very, very passionate deeply passionate about the sport, the industry of the horses. But admittedly, as much as I loved all my Rockingham connections of horsemen, jockeys, and horses, the truly greats who ran at Rockingham were way before me, predated me. I'm talking about Seabiscuit, Dr. Fager, Roman Brother, Discovery, Mom's Command, and the great riders who are all in the Hall of Fame. They were a little before my time, but all part of the glory and the greatness of Rockingham Park throughout 110 years of history.
Could you explain what you would look for in a horse or in a jockey?
Well, one of the things that you'd look for in a jockey, the talent, the athleticism, the competitiveness, the drive, the determination, the courageousness, the spirit, those are the exact kinds of things that you would look for in a horse. And I have to say that two of the great jockeys who rode at Rockingham, Suffolk, New England, who unfortunately are not in the National Hall of Fame, are Carl Gambardella and Rudy Baez. They were great. They were both in the New England Hall of Fame, both inducted in our first two classes when we established the New England Hall of Fame, Turf Riders Hall of Fame. And neither Carl nor Rudy ever got the recognition that they deserved, because they were as good as I say, anybody who ever competed in this sport. But because New England was not a major circuit, they didn't get to ride the big horses, the grade 1 horses in the grade 1 races on a national basis. They didn't compete in the Triple Crown. They didn't ride in the Breeders' Cup. So therefore, they both got overlooked, and it's very unfortunate because when Carl Gambardella retired many years ago, and he was forced to retire because injuries mounted up. He had over 6,000 races. He was in the top 10 easily of in the number of wins of anybody in the history of thoroughbred racing. I'm talking about the Bill Shoemakers, the Pat Days, the Chris McCarrans, who all rode at Rockingham too. But they were truly great, and I'm hoping they'll get more recognition now as time goes on of their talents. But with a horse, getting back to your question, the first thing you look at in a horse is the conformation, that they're perfectly conformed and adhere to the standards of what a thoroughbred racehorse should look like, how they should be built, how they should walk, how they should carry themselves. Everything from the head, the position of their head, to their necks, to their bodies, to their feet, to the way they hold their legs, to the way they move, to their gait. That's what you look for in a horse. And of course in a horse, breeding pedigree. Just because you are the child of a champion mare and a champion stallion doesn't necessarily make you a champion, but pretty much, if you breed the best to the best, you're going to get a pretty good horse. So that's where you start. And but the breeding and the conformation will only carry you so far. If the horse has been out 10 times and hasn't won, then you have to say, well, we're looking more at ability than background.